On today's show, the Dallas Mavericks get a win against the Jazz, albeit one that didn't instill a ton of confidence. What did we see from Kyrie Irving, Tim Hardaway Jr., and more on today's Locked On Mavs?
I'm Luka Doncic, and this is Locked On Mavericks podcast.
Tim Mavericks, NBA champions. Bang! It's good! And the Mavericks have won the game!
If you don't believe, you shouldn't be here.
Loyalty never fades away.
Welcome. You are locked on to the Dallas Mavericks. My name is Nick Angstadt, media member and NBA channel manager for the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day, every win, letting it ride. Even this win. Thanks for being part of the show. Make it Locked On Mavs your first listen each and every day and every post game. We are free and available on all podcast platforms, including YouTube. But the best way you can help us grow the show is to listen every day and to comment anything below. Let us know, what was the weirdest thing that happened in Jazz versus Mavs? The weirdest thing.
Oh.
You got a lot of options. Joining me, as always, my co-host, writer, contributor at Mavs.com, the juggling Jazz Jr., the One More Thing King. What you got for me, Isaac Harris?
All right, y'all know what you got to do. You got to go to Locked On Jazz.
Oh,
give them some love in the
back.
Comments. Tell them a little go Mavs.
Yeah.
I don't know. Take a shot at the rebrand. Talk about them starting a dude I've never heard of really in my life from Italy. I'm like,
pronounce his name.
Fontecchio.
There you go. Y'all should have seen Isaac, right? I just said y'all. I don't do that, but hey.
Yeah, y'all.
Guys, y'all have rubbed off on me. You guys should have seen. I heard Isaac try to pronounce Simone Fontecchio before this game.
I mean, we say this every now and then. That's
starter,
like we talk about
NBA starter.
We talk about the league now every day for 6-7 years, and it's like it takes a random dude to show up on a court for us to be like, crap's this guy. And I got it tonight as a starter. You know, last time I'm like, I don't even know who the starter is. So
Simone
the tank commander
Fontecchio
is out in Utah.
Fontecchio. That's fun to say.
And then he drained a three, and I was like, oh, crap.
Okay. He can play. He's got game. On to Rafael Barlow of Locked On NBA Big Board. I talked to him before the game. He's like, I didn't even know him when he got brought over. If Rafael Barlow doesn't know you, like that is saying something. That guy knows everybody in international basketball. Insane. On today's show, we'll talk about the Mavs win against the Jazz, 120-116. It had me nervous. You had me in the first half, the second half, parts of the fourth quarter. You had me several times. But there was one thing that really stood out from it, and that was Kyrie Irving and Luka deferring to Kyrie Irving. And I think this is something that we're going to see a little bit more and more. You saw Kyrie Irving in the fourth quarter, take over. 17 points, only 5 field goal attempts. 17 points on 5 shots is insane. He hit 8 of his 8 free throw attempts, 3 assists as well. And we saw Luka scoreless in the fourth quarter. And we've seen Luka scoreless in fourth quarters this year before, but they usually don't win those games, Isaac.
Yeah, that's the difference is, a scoreless Luka in the fourth quarter is going to typically lead to a loss. But now that you have Kyrie, this is why you go get a guy like Kyrie. And we've been making this is the way.
This is why. I thought we were doing different things. Should have done this is the way though.
But this is, when we talk about, this first quarter, fourth quarter thing of it's really wild if they really, really lean into this. They continue leaning into it of, Luka, you got the first. You got all your energy in the first quarter. Do your thing, and let me hold off on some of my energy. Kyrie's post game interview with Skin was incredible. Of just his mindset in the fourth, and just how just kind of how he approaches the fourth, saving some of his energy, reading the other team. He's like, I want to see how the other team, how their game plan kind of goes out the door, see how their legs are. And he even mentioned, he's like, as long as we can keep up the pace, and how he wants to keep that pace going there in the fourth. And, but no, I mean, Kyrie tonight was just remarkable. I mean, it felt like in the fourth, you could almost just see it in his face of all right, we are not going to lose to this dang Utah Jazz team. And he had some crazy plays. yeah, I mean, I have like 3 plays I'm thinking of in my head right now. I was like, whoa, that's nuts. But yeah.
Touche.
4 minutes left. He had the N1 where he got to the basket. He got fouled with 3 minutes left. He had the fouled on the 3-point shot late where they reviewed it over and over and over again. It took like 4 actual minutes for a review. As Kyrie was walking out of the presser tonight, Tim Cato shot he shot a heave of a last question as he was leaving. They were like, all right, last question to Callie Kaplan. And then as they were walking away, Tim Cato's like threw one more out. And it was, did you really get hit on the arm on that 3 that they called a foul and they reviewed it? And he was like, you saw me. He's like, you saw me. I was doing this with his fingers, like just brushing his fingers across his forearm because it was minimal contact on that. And every time you reviewed it, it looked like it was something different. It was like a Rorschach test of a review. But he hit all 3 of those free throws, hit 8 free throws in the fourth quarter, and he was absolutely massive in this game. And I think that
10 of 10 for the whole game.
Played all 12 minutes in the fourth quarter too. Like this is why you bring in Kyrie Irving, right? And a game like this, we've seen this team. I asked Jason Kidd about why this Mavericks team like plays up and down to their competition. You have this game against the Suns where they play, great basketball at times and are just, with them stride for stride, a team that they probably shouldn't be with. And then you play this Jazz team where no Colin Sexton, no Jordan Clarkson, no Walker Kessler, like the things that the Mavericks really struggle to guard. All three of those guys, the ones the Mavs really struggle with. And the Mavericks then kind of play down to them and almost lose at times and lost several leads in this game. And I asked him about it. He didn't really give me a good answer because, we know Jason Kidd.
I don't always tell you guys the truth.
And he doesn't always tell us. He doesn't always tell us everything. He talked about turnovers and talked about other stuff. But it's kind of, they take on the mentality of Luka, I think, at times. And I think Luka comes into these games and doesn't necessarily take them as seriously, goes out and does his thing and still, goes off. And then we hit these fourth quarters, and we've seen it time and time again this year that they didn't take the game seriously for the most part. Luka got his, a couple guys, somebody maybe got hot. This game, it was Tim Hardaway. And then by the fourth quarter, it's like, oh, dang, we just worked for what, like 40 minutes or 43 minutes. And now these last 5 minutes, we actually have to work again. And still, instead of getting your work done early, like those classic, Bucks teams that went on to win 60 games, or the Warriors that would, Giannis and Chris and Steph Curry on those teams were playing like 30 minutes a game because they didn't need to put in all this work throughout the full game. Whereas this Mavericks team does because of the way that they approach games like this. And so having a Kyrie Irving, he can take over in the times when the Mavericks normally wouldn't have it at the end.
Yeah, I mean, we don't have to dread the 6 minutes in the fourth anymore. In a way, I mean, you can look at, I think they're at 3rd or 4th in the league in clutch games this year. Dallas, we know the struggles, since the trade. And it's like, oh, they got to figure things out at the end of the game, blah, 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 blah. But I'm like low-key excited for fourth quarters now because Kyrie steps up his game. He's, he plays at this high level in the fourth quarter. You rattled off all of his stats in the fourth tonight. And then it's like, all right, else Kyrie's going off. Then you're like looking at that 6 or 7 minute mark and Luka's going to come back in. And it's like, all right, now we can kind of finish the stretch here with both of them on the floor. So if they can maintain that, I mean, even Kyrie was asked after the game by Skin about being a title contender and all that stuff and figuring it out.
Yeesh.
And Kyrie gave a great answer. He's like, man, we're still learning each other. We're not far away, but we're, it's taking every day of the time, not getting ahead of ourselves and all that stuff. If they can hammer that home though, in the fourth of Kyrie playing at that level, holding the ship down, even like advancing the lead at times until Luka comes in a little bit more rested, then man, that's scary.
Coming up, we saw one more thing from this duo that we want to see more and that I've been asking for. And then we'll talk about how the Mavericks actually got this win and came about this win. So we'll talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about something that it's got me addicted. I've become addicted to this game. It's a new mobile game, Ultimate Pro Basketball GM, where if you ever geek out or if you've ever been this person, and I was this person growing up, where sometimes you play 2K or NBA Live or whatever, to actually play the games. Sometimes you play it just to make the trades, to build the roster, to do the simulations, to to do the draft, all that kind of stuff. Like sometimes you play the GM version of it. If you've ever wanted to do that from the ground up on a mobile game, Do it with Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. Locked On Mavs listeners get 100% free boost to their franchise when you use the promo code Locked On in the game store. So you can check it out right now. Download the game. Visit probasketballgm.com, scan the code, or look it up in the App Store. That's probasketballgm.com. Again, promo code Locked On to go start your team. You can make trades. You're in charge of building facilities. There's actual cap space. There's all kinds of fun stuff that you can get into. It is very addicting and fun. So go check it out. UltimateProBasketballGM.com. All right, Isaac Harris, let's get into the Dallas Mavericks win against the Jazz.
Can you invest in that game?
Not all. I know it doesn't sound like I did. It's got me though. I'm addicted to it. They sent it to hosts beforehand, and I've been playing it. And I just I probably sat here for like 2 hours today. I was playing that game, the Ultimate Pro Basketball GM. One, because I needed to figure out how to play it so that I could tell the other host. And then that was like that was the first 15 minutes, and then after that I was in on it.
That's the classic. Like, let me tell my son, hey, I need to try this cereal for you to see if it's healthy.
All right, let's talk about this. One more thing about about Luka and Kyrie. We started to see this, and Kyrie mentioned this after the game. We started to see when Luka got doubled late in the game that Kyrie was the one that broke, that he was the release valve. And when that happens, it just changes up so much stuff. And they tried to change up where Luka would start, where he would go to the left wing or the right wing, and that way he wasn't in the middle of the floor and they could recover easily. And that way they were able to swing. The Mavs were able to swing the ball from one side to the other. You had Kyrie breaking that trap, and that was one of the reasons why he became he was so good in the fourth. Is that you can't double one guy if the other guy is an all-star starter too. Like it just doesn't work.
Well, I feel like Kidd, he talked about this a while back, the difference of both of their approaches to the double team. A lot of times Luka, he's so big, he's so tall, he's so great of a passer that he kind of like welcomes the double, and he's kind of like walks into it or like waits for them to double, because then he can hit the open guy, or he's going to get a hockey assist, and you're going to get an open shot every time because he's going to get the pass off almost every time. For Kyrie, it's like, well, dude, I'm arguably the quickest guy on the floor. I could just break this thing and get an open shot for somebody this way. So it's like this tag team approach, two different approaches to double teams.
Yeah, they have both of them. So whichever one you want, you can go to. And then if one gets doubled, you can pass it over to the other one, or Kyrie can break his double and Luka's then open, or somebody else is open. And we saw a couple guys take advantage of that, including Justin Holiday, who hit a three late, and right after that block on the Larry Markkinen three-pointer. This game,
Markkinen was nasty.
Markkinen he's a great player. The Mavs may should have jumped on that if they had the assets, but they did not.
Well, a bunch of teams should have jumped on that by now, but still,
it's gonna be brought up forever. Like, why didn't they trade Maxey for Larry Markkinen? Okay, they didn't have the assets for it.
There's a lot of teams out there that could have got Larry Markkinen. I didn't see this coming at all for him.
Nobody did.
This is wild, but.
Not even he did. Maybe if you watched Eurobasket.
Speaking of guys we missed on, so Terrence Ross, I saw Mavs CBA. He had a great tweet after the game, and he said, about how we were talking about the Holiday Ross thing. I guess it was yesterday's pod or 2 pods ago, and how it was kind of like a blessing that the Mavs missed out on Terrence Ross and got Justin Holiday instead. And Mavs CBA, he said on Twitter, he's like, because they needed a discount Dorian more than they needed a discount Tim. But that's so true, right? Because Justin's more like Dorian. He's not Dorian at all, but like, and Terrence Ross isn't Tim, but it's so true though that you needed more of a great value Dorian than you needed another like great value Tim.
Well, imagine Justin Holiday on the Suns playing that role, playing the role of the hit the corner three that that Okogie was trying to play the other night. Now he would have struggled to guard Luka as well. He also struggled to guard Kevin Durant. So you got both sides of that. But let's talk about this game, because it was one of those games where you're disappointed. You got the win, but you're still disappointed in it, right? Like, we're just not happy about how it happened. It was a really weird win. The Mavericks couple times in this game. So first quarter, they're down early at the beginning. It's not really working out. There's beginning of the first quarter, 8 minutes and 41 seconds. There were 2 possessions in a row where the Mavs turned the ball over, and the 2 guys back on defense were Luka and Kyrie, and the Jazz scored so easily, like just so easily. And you looked and said, man, Like, this is just what it's going to be like, right? Like, any team, doesn't matter who's on the court, doesn't matter which NBA players are out there, they're going to score against this Mavs team.
No, yeah. I mean, I was getting so frustrated in the second half, in particular fourth quarter, because I'm like, you just can't lose this team. They're already missing those guys that you listed earlier. And it's like, all right, if they're not going to have Clarkson or Sexton or Kessler, like there's no reason, even with those guys, you should be losing this team if you want to, be a serious, player in the playoffs. But yeah, even some of the stuff really late, there was a play super late in the fourth that, Luka came over on a double, like on like Damian Jones or maybe his marketed, but he left Agbaji just wide open in the corner, and Agbaji hit the three, and it's like, all right, we can't have these moments towards the end of this fourth here. But defense continues to kill him.
Notable, Reggie Bullock, with 4 minutes and 50 seconds left in the first quarter, exited the game. He was subbed out. Then he went to the locker room. Somebody tweeted at me and said, "Where's Reggie Bullock? I don't see him." I started looking immediately. Didn't see him on the bench. I texted you. And then almost immediately after I texted you about it, Mavs PR tweeted that he was out with a quad contusion. And then later they said he would not return. Quad contusion is not super pressing. Like it's not worrying me. It's not like a hamstring like Maxey had or something like that. But not great to have Reggie Bullock out and not really play in this game, although it did give more time to, Josh Green, gave more time to Justin Holiday, gave more time to Tim, I guess. But that was notable that happened. But the Mavericks went on a couple of runs in this game. Beginning of the second quarter, they went on a run. That group with Kyrie, Josh Green, Tim Hardaway, Maxey, and Christian Wood, they got a little something. Like that group was playing really, really well at the beginning of that quarter. What'd you see from them?
Oh, well, the Kyrie Tim Hardaway stuff, there's a lot of numbers to back up that duo, that type of duo, that pairing on the floor. I think as much as you can pair those guys together in the second unit, you got to do that. Just look up some of their offensive numbers on that. Look at some of Tim's numbers playing with Tim. We're playing with Kyrie, but that's the unit there that if they can figure out, you're always looking for the right combinations when Luka's not on the floor. And before it was like, all right, well, we got Christian Wood, we got Tim. All right, how many, if they move Josh to the bench, who starts, all this different stuff. If they can just find that right combination with Christian Wood and Maxey, we know how much the Mavericks love that combo between the two. And then pairing Tim with Kyrie, they play great together. And figuring out who's that fifth guy. Is it Josh? Is it Justin Holiday? Who is it? That's what you got to figure out in that. I'll tell you one small thing in this. They had 24 assists in this game. The other day they had like 12, and that just shows you a ton of like you're defaulting to so much ISO ball. And tonight I feel like that backed up because I was watching. I didn't like keep track of the team assists in the game, but I felt like watching the game tonight. Man, they're really passing the ball, getting the ball moving a little bit more in this game. And they finished out with 24 assists, but.
Yeah. Ball movement was big, and we've been talking about this ever since the Kyrie trade, is that he's promoting more ball movement and promoting the up-tempo offense like that. And so we saw that, and we saw better defense in the beginning of that second quarter. Like this, one of the reasons why this Mavericks team is not going to beat some of these teams as handily as they should is because they can't play defense. They're just going to allow every time the Mavs would go on like a 5-0 run or even like hit a three, they would give up a bucket on the other end, and that just really halts you from making any kind of runs like that. But at the beginning of the second quarter, you did see a run with that unit, and that unit just played so much better defensively. It was notable that Luka was not in that unit, and that they played much better. Wow. You're just a lot faster. You have a lot more athleticism in that lineup when Luka's not in it.
The problem is you just can't play Maxey all the time. So There's one sense that you say, man, I would love just pairing with Christian Wood a lot off the bench. But then there's another way it's like, yeah, but we really need him closing games, as that stretch five with Luka and Kyrie and those guys. So, you got to pick and choose where you're going to have Maxey.
So then that run at the beginning of the second quarter is capped off by Tim Hardaway Jr. hitting another three, his fifth three.
Flamethrower.
8 minutes and 33 seconds left in the second. So like very, very early in the second, he hit his fifth three. And then as he hit the three, as he does, he kind of like backed up and he steps on Will Hardy's foot. Like Will Hardy is the coach of the Jazz. Looks like he's 35, right? He looks like he could just be a player out there. And
he looks like the guy in the face. He reminds me of the guy from Hocus Pocus. of the like zombie guy who gets like, oh, I love that movie. And it gets like buried and then he like comes back to life. Anyway, but Will Hardy didn't do anything wrong.
No, he didn't move. He just stood there.
Yeah.
And Tim Hardaway didn't even see him and backs up and then tweaks his ankle on it. And then the referees go and they review the play for a hostile act. You know, the Kawhi rule where you can't get into the shooter's, you can't get underneath the shooter, like step under the shooter. That could be a flagrant foul. And so they were going to review it. And I was like, hold on, are they about to call Will Hardy for a flagrant foul? Like, there is a hostile act, flagrant foul on Will Hardy, his first. Like,
Hardy? No, not Jaden. Will. Dude, David Locke must have been going off.
I wish I could hear that call. I wish I could hear David's call. I might have to go go back to
They're reviewing it? What? Why are they reviewing
Just a weird play. And Tim said after the game, Will Hardy didn't do anything. There's no bad blood or anything like that. Like nothing really happened on the play. It was just a freak accident that Tim backed up into him, didn't see him. But the Mavericks had a 14-point lead at that point. That was their biggest lead of the game. And then you started to see the Mavericks take. It was just a weird bad game. The Mavericks had this Mavericks team has had like 120 offensive rating, where they're scoring 120 points per 100 possessions. Which, like most teams, most games, you get 100 possessions, and so they've been scoring 120 points a game. This game, 109.1 points per possession. So there's just a bunch of possessions. So they still scored 120, but they just had a bunch of possessions in this game. Weird stuff, back and forth. Turnover. Like you'd have the ball for like 5 seconds and not really even get to do anything with it. Just a really weird game for this Mavericks team. Not one that instilled a ton of confidence. But coming up, let's talk about some other things that we saw. We got to talk about Tim Hardaway and how he's been shooting the lights out since the All-Star break. And then what do we see from everybody else? Talk about that coming up. But before we do, let me tell you about FanDuel. FanDuel is the number one sportsbook in America, and it's the sponsor of the Locked On Podcast Network. It's our official sportsbook partner. Make every moment more. Go check out what they have available on FanDuel. See what you can put some money on. Western Conference winners. Who do you think's number one?
Denver
plus 290. They're number two.
Oh, Phoenix
plus 220. So they're neck and neck right there. Little gap. Next team.
Clippers.
Warriors plus 600. Clippers plus 700. Mavericks plus 800. Grizzlies plus 800.
They'll have a shot.
Here we go. You ready for this? So I said Grizzlies plus 800. Pelicans plus 3,000. Lakers plus 3,400. And then the team that is tied for second in the West, the Sacramento Kings.
Oh my gosh, the disrespect.
Plus 5,500 to win the West. Nobody believes in this Kings team to win the West. Light the beams everywhere. Go check out FanDuel. Go to FanDuel.com/lockedon.
Wow.
All right, Isaac Harris. I don't know if we threw shade at FanDuel, but it's definitely fascinating what that line was for the Kings.
It's not shade. I mean, I feel like nobody's taking this serious. We're really going to see this at the end of the season. Whenever there's going to be some, if they don't finish second, there's going to be some teams really angling hard to play them come playoff time.
Yeah, if they're the third team, everybody's gonna be trying to be that 6th seed.
Yeah.
Tim Hardaway Jr. has been super hot since the All-Star break. He's shooting an insane percentage right now. Why do you think that is?
I mean, yeah, it feels like he's healthy now. I mean, that's the cop-out answer to it, but he's finding a groove coming off the bench. You know, it's Kat made this joke the other day on the Corner 3 shows. Like, I feel like they have to like just switch up his role all the time. Like, switch up his role.
Keep it spicy.
Yeah, it's like bring him off the bench and let him he'll have some great games. And then once he starts to kind of cool off a little bit. All right, you're going to start and then start him and then he'll be fine. And then just switch it up and all that. But no, he's playing good. He's always played well off Luka. That's been one of the reasons why they like him starting sometimes playing alongside Luka. But honestly, I've been thinking a lot about that him and Kyrie duo together and just how he plays off Kyrie, how Kyrie sees him in his spots. And I mean, he always has a green light. And I feel like
he doesn't have a light. It's just always just do whatever.
And I feel like I'm just going to repeat some of the stuff we said the other day, but it's like, this is why you keep a guy like this. This is why if you're at the trade deadline and you're saying, all right, like if you don't have if there wasn't another deal out there that was like equal value, this is why if you're a win now team like this, that you don't go out there and you just shed him for nothing. And because there are nights like this and there's stretches like this that he hits all these threes and he goes off and he looks like the rookie sophomore game going against Waiters. And
that's like a decade ago now.
I know.
We're going to keep bringing it up.
Yeah, because I mean that's what he does. He hits these 7 threes, and then he had that spurt there where he hit a few threes, and then what happened? They got up close on it, and he pump fake, and he drove, and he got fouled at the rim. It's like that's the stuff you need from a guy when you look across the league, and you're like, all right, it's the Lou Williams, it's the Jordan Clarksons, it's all that. Can you have a microwave scorer off the bench that can come in and get hot? And Dallas, in a way, has to. They obviously trust Tim more than Christian Wood, but Christian Wood's kind of a version of that also that can come in and get hot and give you some points.
Tim, since the All-Star break, 29 of 46 from 3. That is 63% over 6 games. And his plus minus is he's plus 27. So
and he played really good defense on KD.
I saw someone else bring that up today, and it reminded me of that face that you made the other day. So the Mavericks end up getting to the fourth quarter. Kyrie leads them to victory. Basically, that's kind of how they got this win. What kind of confidence do you have in this Dallas Mavericks team? Did this game, seeing how they played down to competition, change your mindset about this team at all?
No, I still feel like there's figuring it out.
Still?
And yeah. And they won. Okay. So I'm happy with a win. All right.
You're happy with this win?
I'm happy with a win at this point.
There was a guy whose name you couldn't pronounce in the starting lineup of the other team. You're good.
That's incredible. Will Hardy looks like he's from Hocus Pocus. And
you think a dub is a dub no matter what?
Right now, they need the dubs. But they got to figure their crap out too. So that's we talked about the stretch of 9 games here of these next 3 weeks. 3 games, 3 games each of these, weeks here. Can they go 7-2, 6-3? I just threw out there. I'm like, if they go 500 or below, that's a really big miss of this 9-game stretch here. And now you get a Pelicans team tomorrow. It's a back-to-back game. You got to fly overnight. They're flying right now to New Orleans and get ready for a Pelicans team. And you got to play better against them. They're gonna be scrappy. And Alvarado versus Kyrie should be fun.
So that's what you got.
Yep.
That's how you can pitch that team. A good night for the Mavericks overall in the standings. The Grizzlies just finished their game and they lost to the Lakers. The Warriors also lost to the Thunder, and so now the Mavericks are tied for 5th, but they have the tiebreaker over the Warriors, I believe. So they're 5th right now. So the 4-5 right now would be Suns versus Mavs.
I would assume Reggie doesn't play in the New Orleans game, so we'll probably see a Justin Holiday start. And let's see if he can knock down some more threes in that game. They're shooting. They're another game tonight that they shot really well from 3, 42% from 3. They hit 19 threes in this game. They're getting open looks, like especially they're already getting them with just Luka. But once they got Kyrie, I mean, we were making jokes of like, dude, if you're a shooter and you're a free agent this summer, and let's say Kyrie locks in long term, it's like, if your job is really just to stand in the corner and shoot threes, what better of a team to come to? Because you're just going to get open threes for days.
Buddy Hield's like, hey, can I come hang out?
Yeah. So
can I hold a 10-day?
But I think no, that's just for Nerlens. I think that's
your buddy.
I know he's my friend. He just got a 10-day. Congrats,
Isaac.
Next time, don't wait till it's 3 seconds left to talk.
It was funny the other day, media dining. I had a plate and I walked past a member of the media relations team and I hit him on the shoulder. I was like, hey, Nerlens hit me up about when hot dogs are going to be back. It was a fun moment.
That's one of the Mavs like infamous moments that we'll never forget.
An all-timer, man. Nerlens just walking in there at halftime, getting a hot dog, just walking out like it's just nothing. The most like aloof, like airhead moment. I'm just like, what are you doing? Like,
I was hungry. What?
I don't even want to tell anybody about this because it's embarrassing for you. So I just want to keep it to myself. And Tim McMahon coming through hot with the picture.
Always. There you go, guys. Thanks so much for hanging out with us on Locked On Mavs. Go make your second listen, Locked On NBA Game to Game. You'll hear from somebody that you know, and you'll hear from some people you may not know across the Locked On Network, breaking down and analyzing their games right after the fact. Locked On NBA Game to Game on the Locked On NBA YouTube channel and wherever you get your podcast. Guys, thanks so much for listening to Locked On Mavs.
Peace out.
Boom!